Good morning, everyone. Person County Board of Education is now in session. We do have a quorum present this morning. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence led by Mrs. Bratcher and Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is public comment, and no one has signed up for public comment this morning. At this time, we'll look at the minutes from June 2nd, 2022. Everybody had the opportunity to review those minutes. Are there any noted corrections? Are hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Move to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none. The minutes from June 2nd, 2022 are approved. Dr. Peterson, are there any adjustments to the agenda this morning?
No, ma'am.
All right. At this time, we entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, the agenda is approved. All right, Pride in Person. This morning we have a special recognition.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Board members, Dr. Peterson. I have the privilege and honor to present the Aubrey Lee Brooks Scholarship recipient today with his scholarship certificate. And I'm very excited. Aubrey Lee Brooks is a very prestigious and also very competitive scholarship to be awarded. And I know that Joshua had to go through a lot of rigorous interviews and application process, and mostly that he had to go through years of really hard work and determination. And I am very, very proud to present the Aubrey Lee Brooks Scholarship Award to Joshua Siemens. And Joshua will be attending at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, my alma mater, so I am very excited for him. Thank you so much, Joshua.
Joshua, if you could go stand in here. Board members, if you would come in and take a picture of Joshua, please.
You can come up too, Mom, if you like.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
One more. It's a beautiful smile. Thank you.
Congratulations, Josh. Thank you.
Administrative reports. Dr. Peters.
First item we have for you today, board members, I apologize, we finalized the bail schedule at 8:15 this morning. Not a lot of changes to the bail schedules for this year. We were just trying to align instructional times at all of our schools, especially elementary. We do have busing opportunities as it pertains to getting buses from high school to middle school and to Peasel. So you'll see Peasel's times having, we had to adjust not adjust their times, but their times are a little shorter because we have to go pick up them to then get to other places, and then we have to drop off at high school to then go to Peasel to drop off in the morning. So that's the issue there. But outside of that, no major adjustments this year. What I will say to you is every available bus driver is on a bus this year. So if we have any issues, as it relates to more students needing to ride, or we have increased ridership, or we would have to add buses, then we're gonna have to come back and have a conversation about start and ending times for a lot of our schools, so that we can have multi-routes available. And that could mean elementary coming to school earlier, so we can do elementary routes, and then take the folks that do elementary routes to then do middle and high school routes, or vice versa. But as right now, today, this is what we're proposing for next school year, and this is what we're gonna, with your approval, we'll get to the schools for them to create master schedules around. But I just wanted to put that out there, especially for the public, to know that bus drivers are becoming a scarce commodity.
I have not a question, but some input there. As we publish this, and I had to look at it twice, but because I have background in making these things, I came to a conclusion that I assume is right. But when we put this out for publication, I think we're going to confuse some people in the community if we're not careful. We need another column there.
Okay.
Because the interpretation of whether or not, like take the high school for instance, does the class bell ring to start first period at 7:35, or does the front door open at 7:35?
Right.
Now, I'm assuming that that's the front door opens at 7:35. Yes. And I did that because the tardy bell was 8:05, and I thought, oh my goodness, if they start class at 7:30 and they're not tardy till 8:05. Right. So that's how I came to that conclusion, but that may be
right.
You
difficult. Know, you're spot on. We will not publish this to public.
Okay.
What would be in the Gazette would be tardy bell dismissal. Mm-hmm. This is more of an internal document for the principals to set master schedules
right.
around and duty schedules, and then the expectation is for individual schools
sure.
to notify their public of when drop off can begin, when tardy bell starts, and then when dismissal starts. Because dismissal, mm-hmm. a great example that you just gave, a dismissal here may mean like I'll use your example at the high school, 3 o'clock may start dismissal for car riders, but
right.
it may not be until 3:05 until we get bus riders
right.
on, or it could be vice versa,
mm-hmm.
depending on how they set their duty schedules and how they go in and out of school on a daily basis. But great point. This is not going to be a published document,
okay.
but the tardy bell and dismissal times will be. But that's a great point. Thank you for that.
And I have one other question too as well. So being that we are shorthand, or as you say, bus drivers, or we have issues with all through the state, would parents be notified there's a change in the bus transportation, like in the morning?
Yes.
Because they'll be saying that.
We had that issue a lot this year. And I'll just give you an example. It seemed like every day we had an issue, shorthandedness that affected Southern Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
And those buses would get to school 8:30, but their pickup would be 40 minutes late. But in the mornings, if we have opportunities where bus drivers aren't available for whatever reason, mm-hmm. then a call goes out to that particular bus, letting them know that they're going to be late.
Okay. Or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah. What I want to kind of start putting in your minds is next year we may be having to look at a major shift in how we do entry, because what we have here is sort of consistent in the county. What we did do was listen to the students. Mm-hmm. Remember, students were talking about, because we wanted to make sure we couldn't accommodate drop off and pickup, but we can accommodate one or the other. And so we were able to do that for the student person that needs to go get someone at the middle schools, as they were describing to us. What we did here, we anticipated, okay, maybe parents are available if they're doing car rider here, so we made sure that if they dropped off at the high school or the middle school, that they could then get to their feeder pattern school and drop off. So if you wanted to be a car rider, parent accommodation could happen in the morning. We accommodated what the student was asking for the afternoon, thinking that, okay, parent's gonna be in work, the more issue that we would have would be afternoon for students, so. But that's, we're trying to accommodate everything that we can, just because of how our schools are spaced. Yeah.
Are there any additional questions concerning the school bell schedule as presented? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the 2022-23 school bell schedule as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, hearing none, the bell schedule is approved. Policy updates?
We've had these policies available for feedback, and so at this time, Madam Chairman, I did not hear any need to do revisions, so I would recommend the board approve the policies as presented.
Is there a motion to approve the policies?
Motion to approve the policies as, policy updates as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, policies are approved. UNC Lab School License Agreement.
I'm looking at my list on these. Do you mind just kind of giving an update of what has transpired and where we're at? Cause Melissa's been doing all of the work with the UNC system attorney to get these agreements in place.
Sure. So there are two items on the agenda. The first one is the lab school license agreement that governs the lab school's use of the space within North that they'll have access to. One of the attachments to the agreement shows the specific classrooms that will be dedicated to the lab school, and then there's also a list of the sort of more common spaces in the building that they'll be able to, that they'll share. The license agreement kind of outlines everything about the use of the space in terms of the hours, how to submit requests if UNC wants to sponsor their own events, the sort of liability provisions for each party, and then also the license fee, which is going to be based on, UNC will pay sort of a per lab student fee to the district for use of the space, because you guys aren't just providing space to them, you're providing access to the cafeteria, you're providing, they'll get a rotation with your PE teacher, your music teacher, so they're, they're getting a lot more than just a classroom. So that is sort of what the license spells out. It could come back to you periodically as sort of the space maybe changes from year to year if the lab school continues to grow. And basically you're not paying any money through that agreement. UNC is paying money to the school system. The other agreement is for reimbursement of teacher assistant services, because instead of hiring their own teacher assistants, again, the school system will hire the teacher assistants because you also use those individuals as bus drivers, right? And so you'll still be able to assign those individuals bus driving responsibilities. Those individuals may continue to support the lab school students as they sort of are in classrooms with the, PCS specials teachers. So, those individuals are also kind of supporting PCS. So, but UNC is going to reimburse the district essentially for those teacher assistant services when that individual is supporting the lab school. So again, the school system is not paying any money for that agreement. You're going to be getting reimbursed from UNC in full for the teacher assistant portion of that person's salary. So, and that agreement talks about liability and assignment of duties and those things too. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
The easy part was to say yes, but we appreciate Melissa and Tammy at the UNC office for hammering out the details and the nuances of the agreements. So we appreciate all that y'all done for that. If there's no questions, I would recommend that we approve the license agreement pursuant to the attached exhibits and agreements as presented.
Move to approve license agreement for UNC Lab School as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the agreements for UNC Lab School is approved. And the next one is the reimbursement agreement.
We need a plug.
I'm sorry for the distraction.
Yeah.
He's got it. Are there any questions or concerns? Is there a motion to approve the agreement as presented?
Move to approve the reimbursement agreement as presented. Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, that motion is approved. All right. The next item on the agenda is curriculum instruction and accountability. This is Bratcher, CTE, application.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Peterson. This is our annual signature for our local application for 2022-23 for our CTE local plan. So you all had approved the plan in the previous board meeting, and so now all the ins and outs have been done and budgets have been created for the 22-23 year. So this is just signing off on the assurances and certifications that you all understand as a board, the requirements from our state and the federal government regarding the funds that we receive.
Are there any questions from Mrs. Bratcher concerning the CTE assurance and certifications? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
I want to embarrass this
Thank you.
Bratcher real quick.
Oh, the motion is, the application is all approved.
Embarrassment starts.
Yesterday,
Thank you.
I had all the principals and assistant principals were together doing part of the leadership. We were notified, or I was notified on Tuesday night that UNC TV wants to do a special on the 614 work plan. So we appreciate Ms. Bratcher and all she's done, working with her counterpart over the community college to create that opportunity for our kids. And it's going to be great to be able to showcase that on our UNC TV. It's called NC Initiatives. It's a TV show that she will be a part of.
All right, do we know when it's gonna be aired?
The only thing I know is he wants to do a story within the next 2 months.
Okay. But
And,
we'll be notified so we can.
I'm interviewing
absolutely.
doubles.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
interviewing stunt doubles, so anybody,
Because he wanted to talk to me, I said, nah.
Y'all see
We're
that?
gonna let Ms. Bratcher handle that.
thank you.
But we appreciate all she does every day.
Absolutely. All right, under financial services, Mrs. Maston. The budget for 21-22 final budget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our first item on the agenda today is to finalize the final budget amendment for the fiscal year. We are required to have a balanced budget, and we do. The amendments that are made here were made to maximize our state and federal funds and any grant funds that are expiring, to make sure that we're not reverting or returning any unused funds. So if there are no questions, I seek an approval for the final budget amendment for this fiscal year.
Move to approve the final budget amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Opposed by the same sign, hearing none. The final budget for the fiscal year 21-22 is approved. Insurance coverages.
Okay, so your first attachment is our insurance coverages for property, liability, workers' comp, vehicle insurance, and Surrey Insurance is our insurance agent for this, but of course they bid out on the marketplace, and we have about a 4% increase this year, which the market itself is at a 10% increase, so our rates are well under that, even though there is an increase. On the good side, our workers' comp is going down. We had gone through a period where there was a lot of claims, and it's always a 3-year average, so we're getting out of that cycle. So our workers' comp should actually be declining over the next few years. But so that's your property, liability, inland marine, auto, workers' comp, and then we have an umbrella policy. Something else for consideration, if you read there in the notes. So the first area is that in the past, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association has covered the catastrophic insurance for high school athletics, and they are no longer covering that, and they're placing it back to the boards to handle that coverage. And so we have looked out on the marketplace at a few different options, and my recommendation would be to go with the Young Group, who they carry now our student accident, volunteer, field trip policies. And as we were looking at the policy, it's $2.80 an athlete for the high school and $1.40 for the middle school. So the premium is right at $1,600. And what I did like about this is that it's the same policy that the High School Athletic Association has. However, with that policy, a student was covered for 5 years. So if they had an accident when they were in 11th grade, it would, if there was, lingering issues, it would cover that child for 5 years. With this new policy, it's 10 years. So if there's something major, concussion or something that happens, this policy will cover them for 10 years after the accident. So that would be my recommendation for the board. A second option, and this is just for the board's consideration, we don't have what they call med pay for students. If a student is hurt at school and the school is liable, we cover that accident. So a kid's in the hallway and they slip on some water in front of the water fountain and they break their arm. Well, we would be considered negligent because the water was on the floor, the custodian had not seen it or hadn't cleaned it up. But if two kids are, on the playground running around and one of the kids falls and breaks their arm, we're not covered for that because it's an accident. And so the family's primary medical insurance would be responsible for that. If we look at, this is just a school time policy, it's $1 per student, it's during school hours. If an accident like that happens, this would cover, in addition to, like the family's private pay would pay first, but this would cover on top of that up to $25,000. Again, it's an option, something for you to think about. If you don't want to take action on it this year, you can think about it down the road. We have a few times a year where a parent calls and they're like, we have insurance, but our out-of-pocket is, more than we can afford. And so we really don't have coverage for those type of situations.
But this insurance would be available for parent purchase for $1, right? Or are we going to be doing?
We would cover it
Okay.
at $1 per student, and so it would only. It's not their medical insurance. It would only be medical insurance during the school day. It's not going to be insurance that they would have on the weekends after school. It would only cover them at school during school activities. So something to think about. We can table it for next year, or just putting it out there for you to know that that's available.
I think the one that concerns me is the first one, the catastrophic for athletes. So how does it work this year? So if there was a catastrophic injury?
It's covered, but the High School Athletic Association purchased that for us.
Yeah,
So it's been covered, but it's
to
just.
give you the background on the High School Athletic Association, the state legislative body did a review of the high school association and felt like there were some things that needed to change, and they put the authority under the State Board of Education. So the State Board of Education and all the high schools developed a memorandum of understanding. One of the pieces is that the North Carolina High School Association as part of the due process, the dues that you pay into it, I always covered athletes under catastrophic. Under the new memorandum of understanding, that no longer exists. So our how our students are covered under the current catastrophic insurance through July 31st. So we have to have some type of catastrophic insurance for those students per MOU by August 1. And so instead of us paying North Carolina High School Association to do it, we're just shifting those monies to our current provider and doing an umbrella coverage with our current insurance company. And it's actually a little bit cheaper. There is legislation that's pending in the North Carolina General Assembly that may require us to buy the catastrophic insurance through the North Carolina State Treasurer or the insurance, what is the insurance, whatever, Department of Insurance. But we were led to believe that legislation is going to be amended because that insurance is a little bit higher than what we could get it covered through the umbrellas of our own institutions. So if something were to happen and we are required to do it through the state, then obviously we had to do it through the state. But this is in lieu of in case we can do it. So that's kind of the background on the catastrophic insurance.
Any other questions concerning the insurance coverages as presented?
You have to have the catastrophic insurance. The other one is an option.
So do both each individual can, or it's one, as we approve?
Well, I guess it depends on,
The motion?
depends on the motion, yeah, and so,
So the motion must include the,
I mean, you could do them all, you could do it separately if you want, or someone could make a motion.
and to include the liability insurance?
Yes,
Time?
and sorry, just to clarify, Ms. Masson, so the premium summary, that's sort of one item, and then
Right.
the catastrophic, which is listed on the agenda, is a
Second item.
The second item, and then the student during the day is a third
item.
item, so.
So when you get these calls, do you help the parent out? I mean, how is that handled now?
Normally they just call asking if there's anything else, and I said, well, I will send it over to our liability insurance just to make sure that that there was nothing that was our responsibility, and so they will do an investigation of it, and then we let them know that because of this being an accident, that their primary insurance covers. We have had a situation where the parent, we have covered some of their expenses, like their copay or something, if they say we just can't afford this, and so. But a lot of times when we just say it's the primary responsibility of their primary insurance, they're like, well, okay, I just wanted to check.
So by board attorney, we can do all this in one year, or do it separate, all in one?
You can do it
All of
either
it
way.
makes a motion. All right. At this time, we entertain a motion for the insurance coverages as presented.
Move to approve the insurance coverage as presented.
And just to clarify, would that be all three?
And
Uh-huh.
all three. Yes.
All three.
All three.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, hearing none. The insurance coverages as presented, have been approved. All right. Student fees.
All right, this is back for approval from the board, and our principals have put in notes there in the side, kind of explaining each of the fees. Ms. Johnson is here as well for PESEL. We have two principals out of town, and one is under the weather, so, but you can read down the list there and see if there are any questions or concerns that you have regarding any of the fees.
Okay, I did have one, that was from the meeting in June,
Okay.
and that was that the Men of Valor have a membership fee, but Men of Distinction. And I understand that it's based on fundraiser, is that why?
So, at Southern, their Men of Valor is exclusively done through fundraisers. They raise all the money. And so there's no fee charged because they do that. At Northern, they do fundraisers, and they give the parent the option to either, some parents there have decided I'll just pay, but then there is fundraiser options for the kids that if they don't have the funds, that they can do a fundraiser and raise the funds. And that's the same with the Divas at Northern versus Southern.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because someone would be asking, apparently asking
Yes.
why. Okay, and my next question is, I know that there is a dance group or drill team over there. Is this included in this?
So the fees here has the drill team and the cheerleading. There was no fees submitted for the dance team.
It's my understanding they don't have a currently or looking to coach.
Okay.
I have some overall general concerns just regarding fees, not particularly any of these ones on this one. There is so much more to school than reading, writing, and arithmetic. And a lot of it is contained in students becoming involved in these kinds of activities. It builds it builds that student's ability to communicate. It builds that student's opportunities for college even, and it instills in them community service and community involvement as they become adults. So overall and in general, I'm not really big on having fees for students to be involved in activities. However, I do recognize that in some cases, it becomes a necessity financially. I still, as I indicated last time, see some inconsistencies. And I see one correction I need to make with student council membership fees.
Yeah, so they should all be in line now, high
Okay.
school and middle school, and
Right.
the virtual academy is mirroring what was there
And
too.
that's not what's worded on here, where the principals added their stuff. And it indicates dues, under the PESEL one, she has indicated NCAC dues. And I'm going to assume that that's North Carolina Association of Student Councils, it's NCASC dues. I'm just a correction of the entry there.
Okay.
And I did see with, the consistency with Person High School and PESEL on Honor Society and that kind of thing. I think that might be what you're referring to.
Yes.
But that didn't carry over into those other activities. Again, student council fees, for example. I didn't see an indication that their state dues would be included, in that fee, or if their state dues has been, I know how their state dues has been paid in the past, and
Trying to find her. You talking about person, student council? Trying to find it.
and I'm not finding it either on here right now as I'm scrolling down here. There it is. Nope, that's PESEL, I'm sorry.
I don't see.
I don't even see student council on here at all.
I think.
And I just think.
I think
just
so.
think-
Maybe the school must be covering their student.
No, they don't.
They don't.
But I know how it's covered, but that's another topic entirely. But I do think something ought to be on here. Again, I don't think any student should be left out of the opportunity to be involved in any activity.
And-
Whether it's by paying a fee, a dues fee, or whether it's by choosing to do fundraising. You're still asking, and the organization itself, certainly I approve of them asking those students' participation, and perhaps in fundraising as one of those. But I don't think it should limit the opportunity for our students for those fees. But I don't have a suggestion as to where to come up with that
I
money.
think you and I are like-minded with that, and we've had crucial conversations with the principal. If a student wants to participate in any of these activities, and they say, I want to participate, but I cannot pay, we're not gonna limit a kid from participating. A great example of that, because I know how some kids, honor societies, I'm sure got paid this past year. You know, if there are certain organizations that do require, as part of your participation, to assist in fundraising, whether it's the Key Club
And that, I don't have a problem with that.
whatever, but
There's a lesson within
a great
that.
example on here is, and you know, I saw this list and I started going to people, varsity basketball shoes. One of the things that they like to have is consistency in what their shoes look like.
And I think that's a good team concept.
Absolutely, but what I'm told is, hey, if a parent, that's not going to determine whether or not you're on the varsity basketball team. Period.
But I don't want that student to feel that pressure that it would.
But I think I agree with you, but I don't think it limits the number of people participating when they have 60, 70 kids going out for a varsity basketball team.
I do in some cases, because I've seen it happen.
But then what I would suggest us do is maybe me and you sit down and you tell me of the specific areas that we know that we have issues with, so that we can address it with the principals. And make sure that that doesn't happen. Because if it's happening, I agree with you, we gotta stop it. We gonna have to stop it.
I'm curious if they know about the fee when they try out. Like, you know, we talk about 70 kids trying out, but do they know that it's gonna be $100 if they make the team?
Right.
You know?
Or do they know if they, in some cases like these, like DACA and Key Club and Student Council and all those, do they just not run for an office
Right.
because they can't afford the fee? And we never know about it. I mean, you know, it
Well,
just.
I'm agreeing with y'all 100%. The other option is that we can add up the fees versus the number of kids that participate, and we can make that a part of your local budget request for next school year. I don't have a problem doing that, and I guarantee. And the other thing that I would say, it would probably make finance a lot easier because we're not keeping up with all the money coming in and writing the receipts for it. But that's also an option that we can do, and we can kind of get you an idea how much that would cost. But I think the only way to limit, to get back to your point, is I don't know the answer to how to limit it, other than to say, if you want to participate, we will cover your fees. But you know, locally, that will be a local budget expenditure, so we would have to figure out how much that would be, and then we would have to allocate those schools that money based on an average per pupil investment into those particular clubs.
I'm kind of curious as to how, let's say somebody who's leading the cheerleading team or drill team, would they be able to, or do they know the process through which they could maybe ask the school board to help with that? Because I'm just looking at those fees, like $462 and $531. Now, I kind of get it with drill team, because part of this is a camp fee, but the cheerleading fee seems to be like a uniform.
And they do fundraising for that.
And are they required to go to that camp? In order to be a member of anything? I mean, because a lot of these things do have camps.
I do think, you know, in terms of band, and you probably know more about this than I do, Mr. Torian, if you're part of a band, I think it's expected that you go to a band camp. It's expected you participate in those, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't know somebody was wanting to talk. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Well, I was just going to say, also in response to Mr. Torian's question about understanding how to request a fee waiver, I mean, the board already has policies that say there has to be a process in place, and then another policy that relates is the parental notification policy that says each year parents are notified about the options for requesting fee waivers. So
And that is a part of Parent Gazette that they give.
So, yeah, so that should be, that is part of an annual notification that the board already has, and that Dr. Peterson's, addressed as well.
And, Ms. Johnson's here, but I think she will say too, I think the principals are very cognizant of students that, are unable to pay the fees, and they work with them to make sure that their fees are covered.
I agree with you. I do think that happens in that. And I also think it's an addition that really doesn't have anything, well, maybe a little bit to do with the fees for these. On those opportunities like HOSA, Key Club, FCCLA, DACA, FFA, Honor Society, Student Council, all those kinds of club activities that there are state dues for. There are also state opportunities to attend leadership training for. And that money, in some organizations has been paid by the county in years past for some, and in some places it isn't paid for those. But as sort of an attachment to this, as we deal with our teachers who are willing, and I'm greatly appreciative of those teachers willing to be advisors and consultants in all of these activities for our students, that it falls on their shoulders also to make sure their students are appropriately using that opportunity of membership, and that perhaps it even means that they would have an expense to incur, which I don't think they should have to pay for theirs either, but that they should encourage and participate with their students in training opportunities that those organizations have, because you can't just send students off to Atlanta or Richmond or even Raleigh with no chaperone.
We've been pushing that, and on the FFA side, they have extra months of employment to do that. I have made it very clear on the Skills USA side and the DECA side that if we have, because all these competitions start in the spring and they end in the summer, that if they get kids that want to do that, I'm all about paying the additional month of employment for that employee to be available to participate and attend. And no employee should be incurring an expense where they have to pay to go to a competition or even eat or whatnot while they're there.
Right.
That would be part of the reimbursement process that we would utilize through our fund.
And Ms.
We're on the same. I mean, I think we're.
You know where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
I absolutely know because much of this expense for some of these schools has been very personal to me.
Yeah. And in a lot of these schools.
And I've never asked you for reimbursement for it because I don't think that's
absolutely
appropriate.
And a lot of these schools have used general funds to fund activities that otherwise would be paid through a fee because they know they want kids to be able to participate.
And I'll also add too that CTE, any of these clubs that are related to CTE, Ms. Bratcher uses CTE funding to cover the teachers' expenses.
I think my greatest concern is that all students have the opportunity. And
Absolutely.
It should not be a financial impact on the parent.
There should never be a fault about that.
And that's one of the concerns I hear, where my child was interested in participating, but I couldn't afford the fee. And I think everybody needs to have that opportunity.
I do too.
Great.
Well, we will make it abundantly clear to the principals that the advisors of these organizations and promoting of these organizations and these events, that while there may be a fee that exists, that this should not prevent a student to participate, to become a part, and if they have a hardship, that there will be availability for us to offset costs.
And that's why I keep questioning men of valor and men of distinction, because Mr. Poole does an excellent job in raising
does.
funds to cover those fees for those young men. And as I said, those are one of the concerns I do hear from parents is that, well, my child wanted to, but I couldn't afford it, and I just wanna make sure that every child has an opportunity to be a
I
part
agree.
if they so desire, so.
And I would stretch that too, that as, and having sat in the seat, I know how hard it is to find teachers who are willing to be advisors and such as that for activities. But a lot of times, that organization may not be active in the opportunities that are there for them because whoever is the advisor didn't even know they existed. So there needs to be some kind of mentoring or information that says to that advisor, here are the opportunities that go with being in this activity. And we as a system and as a school want our students to have those opportunities. So please know that as the advisor, we would be expecting you to be aware of, for example, paying your dues to state dues for those things, or going to a conference, or those kinds of things that students participate in. Because I think, I would say the majority of brand new advisors just think it's something that happens inside the walls of that building. They don't realize that there's training for them and training for their students in another place. I've only done this 41 years that I've done this with these kids, and so I guess
Yeah, I
it's
know.
really personal
I
to me. I
understand.
apologize. I'm
Well,
not
it
trying
is,
to.
'cause, you know, you look at cheerleading fees and it's like over $400, almost $500,
Yeah.
you might would round it off. I mean, you eliminating a lot of girls
Mhm.
that would be interested in being a cheerleader, but they can't afford that $500 fee.
Right.
They
Absolutely.
just can't.
And I mean, I would say where we stand right now, possibly a majority of those kids can't afford a $500 fee to be.
So you eliminating a lot of girls, or young men also too as well, that might want to be a part of the cheerleading team, so. I think that's my
Sounds like a
sentiment.
great conversation for the new athletic director at the high school. And I will make sure that I will have that crucial conversation with that
And,
individual.
and,
it's just- I want everybody to have the
suggestion
opportunity, the
there,
same
Is
opportunity.
that an athletic director or is that an activities director?
Cheerleading.
So where is the umbrella with that position?
Athletic director deals with anything related to athletics. And then-
Okay.
I just
and
don't
then
want
there's
anybody to be
assistant
eliminated
principal
because of
assigned
money.
to
Right,
all
I
the
don't
other
think
clubs
so.
and activities. But we are hearing loud and clear what you were saying to us today. Matter of fact, I didn't even want to put this on the agenda.
I know, that was.
I'm
It's
glad
just
you're here
something that's
today, Ms.
personal.
Johnson. Now you can go back and explain. to
Yeah, it's
the
just
other
something
principals.
personal to us as we
Well, I
interact with
personally
kids,
know
and
that
you
she
know.
knows.
Yeah, she knows, it's just.
She knows. We, any of my kids, if, even with the leadership retire, if they can't afford it, we're gonna absorb it.
Yeah.
You know, my kids can do anything they want at my school, and they know that.
But how many can absorb that $500 fee per
Yeah.
child?
I'll have
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not seeing, the other athletics having to pay for their own uniforms.
No, I'm not either.
Mhm.
I'm not either. That's right.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
And this has been a conversation in
I
the
had to pay for
community
golf.
among parents, that they had a concern that my child was not able to participate
Right.
in whatever because of my financial status, or,
Just saying,
we just.
And that's,
I got you.
that's been there long
Yes,
time.
ma'am.
long time.
I mean,
Dr. Anthony, are you hearing all this, sir?
Something needs
He's
to be
quiet
done.
over there.
I noticed how he just came in and
Yeah, he
sat
did.
down.
I'm texting Coach Dakins now as we speak, so we can talk.
Then we need to have lunch this afternoon.
This board has very strong feelings on
About
this.
these. And even though it's not on there, like I said, if you present this and parents see what men of Valley have a fee and,
that's right.
you know, men of distinction don't, why, you know, I mean, it's just, That's a determinant for that parent want her son or their child to participate. You know, it just, it's a lot.
It is. And I know it's a lot to put in our budget, if
It
you really
is.
cover everything,
You
I
cover everything.
understand that.
Cause
But
I
still
understand
think
what that
it's
would
how
happen
we-
too, because everybody wanted to be a member then if you put it in budget, so.
Right. I still think
I
it's
will
how we.
guarantee you this, before this comes before you again, we will do an in-depth study on what should and should not, and what needs to happen. And I'm all about bringing forth to y'all as a board, you know, if we look at wanting to have, if nothing else, a fee line item inside of your local budget where we may not be able to cover everything, but is it something that we can help offset up to, like an up to kind of thing? Because as a former sitting principal, I'm looking at two of them right now. I think what we would also both agree, and I'm looking at Ms. Johnson and Ms. C and Ron, is if the county doesn't cover what we're asking, now it's left up to my general fund to cover. And I know for a fact our general funds don't have the amount of money that is asking to cover if a student says, I can't cover X, Y, and Z. We're not physically there yet at a lot of our general funds to do that. And so, you know, we've gone down this road with technology, and we've offset the technology because it's now a primary resource. So that's no longer a fee that's on here for all of our students. But I mean, we will bring something forth for the 2022-23 school year.
Yeah, cause I hear a lot of concerns. It's two categories on here, this cheerleading and this drill team. It's what I hear a lot about. And that's how a lot of students are eliminated from these two teams because of the fees.
That's right. And I hear a lot about what Ms. Tillett said with, well, you know, you don't have to pay these fees for play football, you know, or to play basketball, or, although there's some things on here this time, you know, like shoes and things like that, but.
Well, we brought this because my conversation with the high school specifically was I want anything that is expected a student to pay for that you collect money for. Sports packs are optional, but these things, according to this list, are what is a requirement. It's a requirement. Well, in regards to who pays for it.
I think if nothing else, we, definitely need to try to do something about the cheerleading fee, because like I said, to me, all I see listed is a uniform. But I mean, when drill team, you see the breakdown, and part of it is the camp fee, which of course, that's expensive, but it's not just a uniform, that's.
So we're gonna table this line item, it's gonna be revisited.
You gotta publicize it.
I mean, we gotta have something in place for August.
Something's gotta be in place.
You gotta have something in place
Doesn't
really
it-
for July 17th, because that's
Exactly.
when athletics,
I know.
that's when dead periods are.
Start.
Right.
I'm recommending that we approve this current list with the understanding that we will make it abundantly clear that if there's a hardship, that we will take care, if a student wants to participate, that would not be a limitation. I will go back and revisit cheerleading and drill team. And we'll deal with that today.
Thank you.
I love y'all. I'm just to not belabor the point, how long have I been talking about this? I mean, I have 4 kids in school, and all 4 of mine are active. It's expensive.
Yes, it is.
If you want to be.
Yes, it is.
And just not to belabor the point, but where do we end?
And
Because
what we think-
band, I may have a kid that wants to play an instrument. And we trade out mouthpieces, but, you know, a kid's gotta have a flute to be able to play a flute. They gotta have a drum to be able to play a drum. They just can't have sticks. And, you know, we do the best that we can to offset that. But especially at the middle school level, where we trade off mouthpieces because of your grade level, when it comes to a performance, we can't have a true 6th, 8th grade performance because we have students that share band instruments. And so at what point do we say we're limiting access to band because a kid can't pay for an instrument? I mean, there's a lot of arguments on this list that we could say we shouldn't have it. You know, I think we need to be pouring a lot more money into arts program that we need, because I do think we have kids that we don't reach because of performing and visual art fees.
And for all of what I've said, that I believe to my core and have invested way beyond what I can even imagine of my own personal money over the years that I was an educator to support, I also recognize and believe that a huge lesson that we have to teach our children is that life is not free.
And I would argue 99% of these individual groups have fundraising that offset the fee.
If we can have that information, that'd be helpful too as well,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
we discuss those 2 main line items.
But we do need the fee structures in place.
Exactly. With the understanding
We
that we'll
understand
revisit those
we'll
2 items.
revisit the 2 items
Okay.
specifically that you asked about. Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion or questions? Is there a motion to approve with the student fees as presented with the recommendation we revisit the cheerleading fees and drill team fees?
May I have clarification? Is drill team the drill team, or are you talking about the dance team, or both?
Well, okay, so let me go back to the dance team. That's not even.
There's nothing on there for the
that's
dance
nothing
team.
on there. That's why I asked you earlier, where was
Yeah.
that on this?
I think we need to address both of them.
Was 3 then?
Yeah.
I think we need to address the whole picture.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we need to limit it to specific organizations. I think we need to review student
Well, can we
activities
move
fees.
to approve to revisit certain line items? As we have discussed.
I'm just gonna say this, I don't know how we would function as a school system if we don't charge fees.
Why, I
Not for
agree.
extracurricular.
I agree with that.
So that's the reason why I'm suggesting, recommending the fee structure. We will, for 21-22, we're gonna address the 3 areas that you
Areas.
specifically asked us to
Mhm.
address.
That was dance,
We're gonna
cheerleading,
ensure that
drill
the
team.
schools make it very clear that fee is not gonna be a deterrent
Determined.
to determine whether or not you participate. And then we will bring a recommendation for 22-23 about how to handle fee moving forward, the fees moving forward.
But this is 22-23.
But this is the 21.
22-23.
Okay, 23-24.
Gotcha.
We will bring a recommendation of 23-24. We're still closing out.
No.
Yeah, so.
No, that was
And I
said.
fully support the drill team, dance, et cetera. I fully support that. But I don't think we should limit it to just those 3. I think we need to review the whole.
Well, as long as parents are aware.
Where, that we are revisiting.
And that.
We concern.
That they will not be limited if they truly cannot afford it.
Okay, yeah, they understand. Is there a motion to approve all what was said?
Motion to approve student fees as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Those less-
Abstain.
motion to, the fees are approved for the fiscal year of 22-23.
Thank you, Miss Master. All right, Chris,
Mr.
it's your
Clay-
turn, buddy.
He's probably afraid to come up here now.
Good morning, board.
Well, the good thing about Chris is you've already approved the ESSER
Yeah,
money
we
to
have.
do all of this. He's just bringing you contracts.
So I do have 4 contracts sponsored by ESSER funds, all in the HVAC area. The first one on your agenda is Earl Bratcher Preschool HVAC improvement. We'd like to obtain approval for the contract agreement with Comfort System USA for the replacement at Earl Bratcher Preschool, and that would be all the mini split units around the school. The financial impact is $795,000. All of these units are over 20 years old, and we cannot find replacement parts.
Any questions, concerns, as you've been presented? Information, is there a motion to approve the contract for Earl Bratcher Preschool with Comfort System USA?
I move to approve Earl Bratcher System for HVAC.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Contract is approved. All right, South Elementary.
Yes, ma'am. South Elementary is a chiller replacement. We would like to obtain approval for the contract agreement with Comfort System USA again. And this chiller is 20 years old and has reached its life expectancy. The financial impact is $314,361. It's our recommendation that Percy County Board of Ed approve the contract with Comfort System USA.
Is there a motion to approve the contract for with Comfort USA for the chiller at South Elementary?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, the contract's approved.
Third item is Oak Lane Elementary School, and it is a chiller replacement also. And we would like to obtain approval for the contract agreement with Comfort Mechanical Contractors. It's a different contractor that had the lower bid. And the background with that chiller is also 20 years old. All of these chillers were installed at the same time, and it has reached its life expectancy. The financial impact for this chiller is $188,065. And we recommend the approval of this chiller.
Is there a motion to approve the contract between Comfort Mechanical Contractors for the chiller in Oak Lane Elementary? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, that contract is approved for Oak Lane.
The last one, number 4, is Northern Middle School. It is HVAC improvements, interior of the school, a lot of the air handlers in that school. The purpose is to approve of a contract agreement with Comfort Mechanical Contractor for HVAC improvement at Northern Middle School. The financial impact here is $575,000. Of course, these units, to my best knowledge, are the original that come with the building. We've replaced different items on them, but so we recommend that the board approve the work at Northern Middle School HVAC.
Is there a motion to approve the contract with Comfort Mechanical for Northern Middle School is presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, the contract is approved for Northern Middle School.
Thank you.
And all this is gonna be done over the summer?
No, ma'am.
I didn't think that.
With the situation with,
I won't get mad.
yeah, no.
They are, this is part of the ESSER HVAC, the 6.2 whatever million that you approved back in, I don't know, almost a year ago.
Right.
And this is, they're at a point now where they've done all the mechanical engineering, and now they put out for bid for actual parts. Is that
Yep.
pretty much it?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that Chris is working on, it's not on the agenda, but we need to give you an update. North End, the queuing has started, and they started ripping up the asphalt yesterday.
They are complete with the asphalt removal.
There you go. And so we're hoping to have that, the queuing part of that project finished before school starts. The other thing that we're waiting on is you, because you're the officials of the board, we're gonna be doing the work for you, but this board has to put forward a series of information that to the commissioners for them to go to LGC for the loan process for the issuance. We're in the process of doing all of that work now. The upfront cost is going to be pretty substantial. It's going to be somewhere around the $600,000 to $700,000 range. In speaking with management upstairs, we will probably be coming to you for funds to come out of our fund balance to fund that upfront, and when we get the issuance money for the project, then that money goes back into your fund balance. So just know that we're working on that, and that's probably going to be an item in your August meeting. So just heads up that that's coming, but there's a lot of stuff happening, and you've got the North End project, which is a lottery project. You got all of these projects, which are ESSER money, COVID money, the 12 million, 6 million you put to that, and we're also working on possible issuance money, but we have to do all of the work up front for mechanical, architect, surveying, all that stuff has to be completed, and a project item list has to be itemized before we go to LGC for the whatever loan that they're going to try to get for LGC. So just know that that's what Chris is doing over
Yeah.
summer.
We're currently working on everything he just mentioned.
And
Chris still has hair.
Some more.
Nope.
And as we look at the future, and you referenced, and I know that these, they've reached their life expectancy. How are we in our other buildings? What as we go forward to the future, how many of our buildings are going to cycle into this
Yes, ma'am.
need?
Yep, we've done a good job in the past. Northern Middle School, for instance, has all new rooftop units replaced about 5 to 6 years ago. And we're going through the cycle of each chiller, which is the main source for cooling.
Right.
And this is that. So the next thing would be, and we've already replaced Storage Creek and Helena chill water towers. And we're currently this year starting at Storage Creek with replacing some of those units. You got to keep in mind those units are 20 years old also. But we're having better luck at Helena, so we hadn't addressed that yet. So it's a constant renewal process every 20 years because, mechanical equipment doesn't last. So, what's coming up is we're pretty good in most of our schools, but it will be coming up at Storage Creek and Helena.
Those are two youngest schools too.
Yes, ma'am. Two youngest schools, yes, ma'am.
The opportunity we have is in, I think it was 2000, if I read the notes right, it's when all the two schools were built, and then there was all the construction around the other schools. The problem is everything was done at one time.
Yep.
Now everything's coming due at one time. And what we're trying to do is stagger it out so that it's not all in 2040 or 42 and then all coming back due again.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Dr. Peters?
At this time, Madam Chairman, I recommend the board to go into closed session to reserve the attorney-client privilege to consider confidential personnel information and student information pursuant to general statute.
Before we go into close, could I recognize somebody in the audience who has a special guest?
Absolutely.
So, Todd, you want to stand up? So, Todd Hall is joining us today. He's participating in the LEAD program through the NCDOA, Department of Administration. It stands for Leading, Empowering, Advising, and Developing. And he's going to receive coaching in an industry of his choice this summer. So the industry that he chose was community leadership. He wants to be a future community leader. So he was assigned, I was assigned as one of his mentors, Antoinette Royster and Keith Day. So we'll be working with him throughout the summer with some enrichment and activities, and just he'll learn how the community operates. Todd, he's a rising 8th grader. He plays football. He's a member of MOD, which we talked a lot about today. Yeah, so that's Todd. Glad to have you here. Glad you want to be a future leader. Thanks for joining us.
All right, this time you entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please go by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, we will go into closed session. Thank you. Person County School has return date to open session. Dr. Peterson.
At this time, Madam Chairman, I recommend the board approve consent items 7E, 1A through C.
Is there a motion to approve items 7E, 1 through C as presented?
So moved.
Actually, I apologize. It's 8. 8.
Eight.
I'm
I
sorry,
knew it said,
8.
mine said 8.
I was just making sure y'all were paying attention.
So moved on 8.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none. The superintendent's reports are approved. All right. Is there anything else that needs our attention? All right. At this time, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. All right. This meeting is adjourned.